Hello and Happy New Year. Welcome to Network. My name is Spumelele Zondi with your technology and social media news. Now, if you want to be a part of this technology conversation, find us on SABC Network. That's on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. News Network at sabc.co.za on email. Here's what's coming up in the program. New technology is helping conservationists track endangered species. Nigeria now has the fastest passenger train in the country. And our discussion is on the Democratic Republic of Congo blocking the internet during protests. Dr. Shepherd Bofu is here to discuss that with us. Hello and thank you for being a part of our network.
Hello, thank you for inviting me.
Now, does this happen often in the Congo?
It seems there's a sustained pattern of blockages of the internet every time there's a threat or there's a possibility of a protest.
All right, sure. We'll touch on that later in the program. But first, your technology and social media news. Now, cheetahs are animals that are able to sprint up to more than 120 kilometers per hour. The fastest animal in the world is now fast getting extinct. In order to help, new technology is being used to track cheetahs in Namibia. Inbreeding among African cheetahs is putting further strain on a species already under threat of extinction. The world's fastest land animal also faces pressure from illegal trafficking and prey loss due to overhunting. Conservation efforts are made more difficult because the cheetah is elusive and monitoring populations is difficult. But a non-invasive method combining technology with the ancient tracking skills of Namibian hunter-gatherers is giving conservationists a new tool for monitoring cheetahs. The footprint identification technique developed by American-based non-profit organization WildTrack can already identify cheetahs and other species at the individual, sex and age class level with more than 90% accuracy.
The FIT software, the algorithms that have been written for it can already pick up on species, individual, age and sex, and it can, for example, tell individual with a 99% accuracy and everything else with an over 90% accuracy already. So on top of that, we're trying to write an algorithm that will pick up on the relatedness of individuals.
The FIT software needs a smartphone and a ruler to work. It collects data from a paw print with the computer algorithm doing the rest.
Just think of, the shape of your face, the shape of your hand, your nose, your ear. That all is influenced by genetics. It's the same for the cheetah or the otter or any other animal. So the shape of the foot is influenced by genetics.
To help further develop and test the FIT software, Sleni is working with the Nan Akuse Foundation, a conservation charity in Namibia, which is giving her access to a large group of captive cheetahs. Capable of sprinting up to 120 kilometers per hour in short bursts, cheetah populations have plummeted.
They were saying, guys, you're always looking up, look down at the footprints, all your answers are there. And that was when they had the idea to preserve that amazing knowledge of the native trackers who can read a footprint like a book and turn it into software so that it's not lost.
New research published in the journal PeerJ this month estimated that optimistically there are about 6,800 African cheetahs left in the wild. Wildlife experts are calling for the big cat to be reclassified to endangered, up from vulnerable among threatened species to give it greater environmental protection. Now, all music playing technology seems to be on its way back. International vinyl sales haven't been this high in 20 years. We spent time with one vinyl store owner in the Kenyan capital, Nairobi. He is happy about the return of the popularity of this old technology.
Old music playing technology seems to be on its way back. International vinyl sales have not been this high in 20 years. We spent time with one vinyl store owner in the Kenyan capital, Nairobi. He is happy about the return of the popularity of this old technology. In the 80s, James was a DJ here in Nairobi, Kenya. He played an electric mix of music spanning local banger and Swahili pop to Congolese dance and Afro-Cuban classic with a touch of Lionel Rich.
I couldn't stop collecting records. For some reason, I was always perturbed by piracy, and I always hated anything that is not original. As you know, vinyl is the most original way of playing music. So I kept on buying and buying everywhere. Every time I found records, I couldn't resist the urge of buying.
Nairobi used to be East Africa's entertainment hotspot. International record labels such as Polygram and EMI signed bands from Kenya, Tanzania, and former Zaire, now DRC. The bands signed included Orchestra Vigura, Dayagi, Kabaka, and Simba Wanyika. Most local major record labels closed shop as Kenya's economy struggled in the 90s and training and rehearsal spaces became inadequate. Recording studios and mastering facilities moved to South Africa. Demand for vinyl gave way to cassette tapes, then CDs, then online digital sources, and only a few collectors with the right players still buy these records.
As you can see today, all music shops are kind of closed. It's because of technology which we can't fight. Because you guys only download music from the internet and you don't buy anymore.
Jimmy can go a whole week with just one customer, but he says he doesn't really care about the money.
I use an old Sony record player, and I really like using old vinyl records because I really enjoy the old stuff.
Global sales of vinyl records are increasing. They have reached their highest level for 20 years, something Jimmy is excited about. Jimmy's stall number 570 is hidden away in a popular meat market where only those that are looking will find him. He also restores and sells vintage record players. Fans of vinyl say it offers a richer sound than its digital successors, despite the occasional crackles caused by scratches or dust on the records.
Now, Nigeria has a new high-speed train. The train moves at more than 150 kilometers per hour. Now, Nigerians are being trained on how to use the new technology for the train to operate. The train was built by the Chinese. It's been launched in Nigeria by President Muhammadu Buhari. It will connect Abuja and Kaduna State. It is the fastest train in Nigeria. In Africa, though, South Africa has the much faster Gau train. Now, after the break, we will chat about internet blockages in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Dr. Shepen Bofu is already in studio for that one. Stay with us.
Weekly dose of art and entertainment news. Tune into Trends every Saturday from 12 to 1.
This is your midday report. Good afternoon.
I will be free.
I assume as President of the Republic of Kenya.
Let's take a look at how African markets and currencies are performing now. The central bankers say the success of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies is just a bubble.
Breaking stories, detailed economy and sport. Tune into Midday Report every Monday to Friday from 12 p.m.
We're shooting a campaign. We're telling genuine stories from real people that have been affected by the SABC. It's also interesting to get the backstory in terms of their dreams to be on screen and eventually getting the pleasure to do that. And understanding that they're communicating on a platform that speaks to millions of people. And it speaks to how the SABC can fulfill its mandate.
The SABC represents the opportunity for so many young South Africans, for old South Africans, to be able to look at the world that they may not experience any other way.
People should continue to pay their TV license because it allows the SABC to bring quality programming.
The TV license is really part of the lifeblood of the channel and the corporation.
When you're listening to your favorite jams, you're listening to your favorite radio DJ, you must know that you made it possible by paying your TV license.
It's such a holistic process that goes into TV licenses. It's not only one part where we say South Africans have to pay for TV licenses. You pay a TV license because you get so much value out of it, and that's the content that you get every single day on the SABC platforms.
I have been in the film industry now for 51 years. I am quite satisfied with the evolution of television now, that we have got a lot of actors and we have got a lot of crew members, which will also play part of paying our licenses, because I think it's proper.
It is the SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. News Network at sabc.co.za on email. Thank you very much for being a part of our network. Now, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, the internet was shut down for a few days. Now, this is because of anti-government protests that have been taking place in the Southern African Development Community country. At least 8 people were killed and dozens arrested, including 12 Catholic altar boys who were leading a march in Kinshasa. The country's telecommunications minister, Emery Okunji, ordered mobile operators to cut internet and SMS services. This is for state security, he said. One of those mobile operators that were ordered to cut services is South Africa's Vodacom. In the past, we asked Vodacom about a previous internet cut, and they said they're forced by DRC laws to do it when ordered by the government. Now, joining me in studio to further the discussion is Dr. Shepherd Mbofu. His media research touches on issues of democracy in Africa, the internet, and social media. Hello, and thank you for being a part of our network.
Hi, thank you for inviting me.
Now, earlier you were telling us that this happens quite often in the DRC. Would you expand on that?
You find that if there's an election, or as in 2011, or the electoral bill, and people are protesting against that, there is always a tendency by the government to shut down the internet for security reasons, and also to prevent, as happened in 2011, to prevent people spreading false electoral results through the internet or through SMS services.
That's what the government says, but is that the real reason, do you believe, especially since you've researched such issues across Africa?
It's deeper than that. If you look at the issues around legitimacy of the current president, Joseph Kabila, who was supposed to cease being the president around 2016 or so, and is still continuing and is attempting to get a third term. So people are protesting against that, and you see that slowly but surely is morphing into a dictator, and this is what the Congolese are trying to prevent. But as always happened, dictatorships always want to protect their interests more than the country's interests or more than the people's interests. And if you look at the issue of human rights, for instance, you will find that in Congo, for instance, there's about 1.5 million deaf people. And if you cut down the internet, if you cut down the SMS services, what are you saying to those people? Or what happens to their informational needs? They can actually walk into conflict zones without necessarily knowing through notifications via their SMSs and other communication that they are getting themselves into
Now, that's
trouble.
an interesting one, because the SMSs have also been cut this time around.
Yeah. So
it's not just the internet, because normally it would be the internet and it would just be social media. But this time around, they went for SMS services as well.
Yeah, they always, I think DRC is probably the only country that cuts SMS and also cuts the internet at the same time. And SMS is an alternative to the internet or to social media platforms like WhatsApp, your YouTube, your Twitter, and Instagram. So once those are blocked, people easily opt for SMS services.
And what would the internet be used for, especially in times of protest, in times that people are engaging in such actions of dissatisfaction against the government?
You find that the mainstream media previously were used to announce protests by the opposition forces, but now you have a situation where the internet actually makes it faster to organize and also to send information directly to the people without the mediation of the mainstream media. So it cuts down on time. The time that you spend maybe sending a press release to a newspaper which will come out tomorrow, you can actually just send an SMS to people which will instantaneously arrive at them.
And the DRC is obviously not the only country that's doing this. Is that the reason maybe there's not much condemnation from the African continent?
Most African countries are sort of under dictatorships or under quasi-democracies. So what is happening in the DRC, I think, sits well to most African leaders' hearts, maybe besides a few cases that you may account, like the Botswana president, who is always against dictatorships in the African continent.
When the internet is shut, as you said, people then only rely on traditional media to find out what's happening in that particular country. Social media is another way. For example, journalists would get the story out. Locals would say what's happening in the country. Are there alternatives that people can have at a time when it gets shut down?
You are left with rumors and telephone calls. Usually when the internet is shut, the SMS is shut, people can access their telephone just through making only calls. And through that, one telephone call, and then the person who receives the call notifies the people around them, and sometimes the information doesn't tally with what has been sent by the sender. So you have a situation where people rely mostly on rumors or on half-baked information.
There's a photograph that's in the background. Would you say it sums up what's actually happening in the DRC? We see Joseph Kabila's photo being torn in the background there.
If you remember, when Mugabe lost power in Zimbabwe, his images were actually were taken down from the walls. And I think this speaks to dissatisfaction of the people of the Congolese about Joseph Kabila. And I think that's the only recourse that especially the powerless people have, taking shots at the images of the leaders and tearing it down empowers them to a certain extent that they're actually fighting him and defacing his images like that. They just don't want him from their landscape anymore. They don't want him even from the political landscape again.
Is there a possibility that social media could really be the enemy here, as a lot of African governments, including the DRC government in this case, seem to believe?
African governments are actually the enemy of themselves. Look, when they want to be voted into power, they go to the people. Once they're in power, they don't want to associate with the people. And the dictatorship or dictatorial tendencies, they don't come from the people, they don't come from social media. They come from themselves as the leaders. So that kind of morphing into dictatorships or undemocratic tendencies is actually the enemy of the African leaders rather than the social media or the people themselves.
All right, Dr. Shepen-Bofo, thank you very much for joining us and for being a part of our network.
Thank you.
All right, sure, thank you very much. Now, we caught up with one of South Africa's disky divas, Felicia Mokoena, and she told us about her favorite piece of technology.
Hi, I'm Felicia Mokoena, the diva. My favorite piece guys, it's my iPhone. Listen, this phone, it takes beautiful pictures. I feel like I'm a photographer when I take pictures. Amazing features on this phone. Like it's a dynamite. Yeah, though it comes in a small package, but it's a dynamite.
Our stories.
How do I begin?
Our lives. When all seems to fail, we will raise our voices a bit louder for our justice.
I went into absolute shock. My whole body was shaky. I couldn't hold a phone, but there he was. I couldn't believe the nonchalance that they were still in the area 2 weeks later.
And in times when the justice system is not able to help us with our individual battles,
I'm willing to do anything. What are you doing? Nothing. Feeling sorry for yourself? No, it's not an option.
These are our stories on Cutting Edge Channel 404.
A very good morning to you, and thank you so much indeed for choosing Morning Live.
But I want to know the basic thing.
Griselda Lewis, SABC News, in Parktown, Johannesburg.
Zimbabwe, Mzondele Mbeje, SABC News, Luanda, Angola.
Let's take a look at your market indicators.
Thanks for staying with Morning Live. Let's bring you your sports news.
Let's take a look at your satellite image.
Set the agenda for the day with Morning Live.
Jumbo Africa, welcome to the newsroom. I'm Elvis Preslin.
Let us build our continent brick by brick, stone by stone, until we achieve.
Plus, had asked the court to review and cancel the contract after adverse findings by both the Auditor General as well as the Public Protector.
Well, Christianity is under attack globally. It has been from the beginning of time.
Get all the dominating stories locally and globally on Newsroom every Monday to Friday from 9 a.m.
Now, it is SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. News Network at sabc.co.za on email. Now, 2 young Indian engineering students have created a smart vehicle ignition, and South Koreans are taking Apple to court for slowing down older iPhone models. These are some of the stories that made tech headlines in the last week.
Engineering students Anish Yadav and Aishwarya Kaushik from India's northern Punjab state have created a prototype for a smart vehicle ignition system which can be operated through a smartphone.
ये डिवाइस एक इलेक्ट्रॉनिक किट है और
This can be installed in a vehicle just like any other kit, and it is a software application which will be available on Android phones and can be installed. From there, commands can be issued via Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, which would start the engine of the vehicle and also start its air conditioning.
The idea struck the duo after Kaushik's father complained of not being able to start the engine of his car during winters. Still in Asia, US tech giant Apple Inc. faces class action lawsuit in South Korea for purposely slowing older models of iPhones. The plaintiffs have so far numbered more than 250,000.
I am disappointed. I will think twice before buying another iPhone in the future.
The battery replacement is not free of charge. Instead, it costs more than 30,000 won.
The handset maker has formally apologized to the customers and is offering discounted battery replacement services for old iPhones, but such efforts have failed to quell customers' discontent. Affected by the battery gate, some analysts have lowered their sales forecast for Apple's 10th anniversary gadget, the iPhone X, for the first quarter this year. In India, parents on Thursday expressed their concern after reports emerged that US President Donald Trump's administration is mulling a proposal aimed at preventing the extension of H-1B visas, predominantly used by Indian IT professionals.
We request the American government that you better reconsider these kind of implementations are not good for the whole world, and you better take back these kind of policies to be going to be introduced or put in front of the Senate members of America.
There are an estimated 255,000 Indians with H-1B visas in the last 6 years alone who have migrated to USA. H-1B visas allow foreign workers generally with bachelor's degrees or higher to work for 3 years at a time, often in the technology, healthcare and education sectors. Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Apple, Intel, Oracle and Facebook were heavy users of H-1 visas in 2016, according to USCIS data.
Now, this week we've been asking you on Twitter if you've ever taken a break from the internet. In first place are 41% of respondents who say yes. That is followed by 33% of people who say no, they've never taken a break from the internet, and 26% are respondents who say they've tried but have failed. And that's all we have for you. Find us on SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, newsnetwork at sabc.co.za on email. We leave you with a visual of a high-tech bridge in China. From me and the rest of the network team, have a good one.